Most people don't want coaching. They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to add another appointment to their schedule. And really, who wants to sit across from a stranger and try to explain problems that feel basic, messy, or half formed? A lot of people can't even explain what's wrong yet. They just know something feels off. So instead of coaching, people do what feels safer. They go to a supervisor or maybe ask a mentor. Maybe they talk it through with a friend, listen to something on the way to work, or tell themselves they should just handle it. And then they get frustrated when nothing really changes. That's not because they're lazy or avoiding growth. It's because they're using the wrong kind of support for the problem they're actually dealing with. Once you notice this, a lot of the frustration people feel starts to make more sense. If you're new here, hey, I'm Amber, and this is Talent Refinement, a space for people who want to grow at their own pace and in their own way. Today, I want to talk through the real difference between supervision, mentoring, coaching, and self coaching. Not as definitions, but as how they actually show up in real life. All right, grab the Refine journal or a notebook. Writing slows this down enough to notice things. So here's where most people start. They go to their supervisor. This happens at work all of the time. Someone is doing fine on paper. They're meeting expectations. They're competent, reliable, trusted, but internally, they feel stretched, unclear, or quietly burned out. Or they're questioning whether the role still fits who they are. So they go to their supervisor and say something like this: I'm overwhelmed. I'm not sure this role fits me anymore. Or I feel like I'm spinning. And that makes sense, right? Supervisors manage performance, workload, priorities, deadlines, accountability. But here's the mismatch. A supervisor's role is to make sure that the work gets done, not to help you untangle internal conflict, maybe identity questions, or long-term alignment. So the conversation naturally turns into tasks, adjusting responsibilities, clarifying expectations, reprioritizing deliverables. You leave with more structure around the job, but not more clarity about yourself. Think about the last time you did this. Did you walk away feeling lighter or just more organized? When that doesn't solve it, people usually turn to mentoring. Mentoring usually feels safer and really it shows up everywhere. At work, it sounds like, what did you do when you were in this role? How did you handle this kind of a decision? What would you recommend? In relationships, it's a bit more personal. You've been married longer than I have. How would you make this work? Or how did you know when to stay or leave? What's the right thing to do here? And with health, it can look a little bit something like this. What routine worked for you? What finally helped you stay consistent? What should I be doing differently? Mentors are valuable. They share experience, they help you see options you didn't know existed. But mentoring is still advice based. Advice helps you decide what you could do. It doesn't always help you understand why you keep hesitating, repeating the same patterns, or second guessing yourself. That's why people can collect a lot of good advice and still feel stuck. This is where coaching is different. Coaching doesn't hype you up. It helps you see what you've been ignoring or talking yourself out of. Coaching starts with noticing. It's noticing where you overprepare, maybe you keep putting things off, or where you work around those discomforts instead of actually dealing with them. At work, coaching can help you see why you stay quiet in meetings, even when you're prepared, or why you keep taking on extra work instead of having a harder conversation. In relationships, coaching helps you notice patterns that you keep repeating, why the same arguments show up even when the details change. Maybe instead of staying focused you're staying focused only on the other person's behavior. With health coaching, it can help you see why you keep restarting instead of building, and maybe why motivation fades or habits start feel like an all or nothing kind of thing. A coach doesn't hand you answers. They help you slow down enough to choose intentionally instead of reactively. And when you don't want coaching, maybe you don't need it or you just aren't ready for it, that's where self-coaching fits. Sometimes it's about money, sometimes it's about privacy, and sometimes people just need time and space to think through it on their own. Self-coaching isn't just winging it on your own though, all right? It's using tools that help you slow down your thinking, notice patterns, and make decisions without spiraling. So in relationships, it can help you pause before reacting instead of replaying that same conversation in your head for days. At work, it can help you catch a misalignment instead of waiting until burnout forces a change. Maybe with health, it can help you adjust your habits realistically instead of swinging between discipline and guilt. This is actually often what people want. Not someone telling them what to do, not more advice, just space, some structure, and some clarity. You don't need fixing, you need visibility. Here's the big takeaway. Different problems need different kinds of support. Supervision manages responsibility and execution. Mentoring shares experiences, perspectives. Coaching helps you see patterns and make intentional choices. Self-coaching helps you maintain momentum between decisions. When you use the wrong one, things feel frustrating and circular. When you use the right one, things start to move again. That's why so many people say, I've tried everything, when what they've really done is repeat the same type of support over and over. If you want to go deeper, there are a few ways to do that, just depending on what's actually tripping you up. If things feel maybe misaligned or unclear, grab the Clarity Refined workbook. It's going to help you slow down and get honest about what matters before you make another decision. If you keep second guessing yourself, or maybe you're holding back in situations where you know better, then that Confidence Refined workbook gives you a way to work through that on paper without overthinking it. And if you want something a bit more structured but still self-guided, Silence the Imposter, it's a 21-day confidence reset. That one's going to give you some daily focus, so you're not trying to fix everything all at once. You don't need all of them. You just need the one that matches what you're dealing with right now. Before you go, sit with this just for a moment. Where in your life are you defaulting to the kind of support that feels familiar, even though you know something else would help more right now? All right, if this was useful, like the video and subscribe so you don't lose track of these ideas when something feels off again. And as always, reflect deeply, grow boldly, and refine endlessly. Until the next one.